has also brought with it a heap full of harms on the adults and on the children as well, social media. Although this is not the focus of this particular talk, but what are some of these harms? To list just a few. A person's nightlife is quite ruined if you become obsessively addictive with social media. You can't sleep a proper full night anymore. These blue light emissions that you are absorbing all of the time, it affects your sleep rhythms. And then if you add to that obsessive twitch to quickly or remove the fly mode from your phone and to check your latest notification, and then you get that next hit of dopamine and adrenaline, and now you're awake and you can't sleep, and it becomes even shorter of a night. So you're knackered in the night, you can't sleep, and by day you're knackered because you haven't slept, and then your whole life becomes a misery. That's one thing. A second thing, think about your ability to be alone with Allah, alone with yourself. Young boys, young girls can't do that anymore. Because social media has, for the most part, removed that ability from us. Because every opportunity that you're not speaking to someone or working or doing something, it's an opportunity to put your hand in your pocket and to see what's going on the other side of the world. So you have no time for yourself. So with the passage of 5, 10, 15 years, you lose the ability of finding contentment with just being alone. To sit in khalwa, privacy with Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. A lot of us can't do that, especially the younger generation. Because you're looking inwardly, or you're looking outwardly all of the time. Outwardly, outwardly, outwardly. And then when you're sat alone, you're looking outwardly into what the world is doing. You are unable to sit and to think inwardly for a moment about your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is an issue. One of the greatest ways of boosting iman is learning how to sit alone, without a phone, without a friend, without a parent for a moment in your day or night. And for many of us, we can't do that anymore. Because we feel that there's value in us that's missing, so we try to find that value elsewhere. That's number 2. Number 3, there's heaps of evidence now to prove beyond fact that some of the loneliest, saddest, most depressed and anxious people on planet Earth are those who use their phones, their social media specifically most. It's interesting, you think that the more friends you had online, the less lonely you feel. That's not the situation, that's not the science at all actually. It's like the more chocolate you have in an aisle in the supermarket does not help you curb your desire for chocolate any more than an aisle that has fewer chocolates. Lonely. Why? Because you are constantly comparing your life, your miserable or boring life that doesn't have vacations, doesn't have business, doesn't have the latest Jordans. You're comparing your life to the highlight reel of your neighbor, to the highlight reel of someone in Australia. And they've removed all of the blemishes and the flaws of their day. So they feel lonely. Social media users feel isolated. They feel inadequate. That's number 3. Number 4, look at how social media has for many people made them completely socially incompetent, especially maybe the younger generation, Gen Z. They can't hold a long and deep and meaningful conversation with you, looking at you eye to eye. That's gone. Because over the passage of years, when you're obsessively using social media, what happens? Your mind now is hardwired and short-circuited to only be able to deal with short comments, LOLs, thumbs up, likes, hashtags, shares, and you lose the ability to become an interpersonal human being. You can't do it anymore. So social media teaches you that if there's a problem in your relationships, don't worry, you can just get out of it. Just click the block button. End of story. Does that represent reality? Reality is far more sophisticated than that. Far more messy, far more entangled, far more intertwined. You've got to be intelligent, you've got to be socially smart, you've got to look at people, you've got to talk with them, you've got to know how to deal with difficult circumstances. Social media says to you that this is an image that you gape over, you impress over, you share, you comment, you like, and that's it. It doesn't teach you to look at a woman, for example, as a mother, or as a neighbor. It doesn't train you, it doesn't give you those tools. It strips you of them. So you're left socially incompetent. This is your number 5, and that is, look at how social media, with time and with obsession, with addiction, it can infantilize your mind. It can make your brain like the brain of an infant, a child. What do children love the most? Flashing lights and buzzing sounds. What does social media train you to love the most? Flashing lights, buzzing sounds. They just call them more sophisticated terms like notifications. And then look at the tantrum that the child kicks up when he or she, they have their desires not met there and then. Instant gratification. Why not? It's now. The child kicks up a fuss. They can't, they're not patient, they're not resilient, they're just weak stuff now. And the users of social media, what have they become? Like a child. Living off the next dopamine hit, like an addict. Living and waiting for the next notification to feel that you're validated by society. Otherwise, you don't feel that buzz, that hit. Looking for instant gratification, we become childlike with scattered attention. We're unable to focus. You pick up a book, you read half a page, and then you have that yearning to see what's going on your socials, but your phone hasn't even gone off. It's a phantom notification, they call it. You feel that your phone has gone off, but it hasn't gone off. It's an imagination because the brain has been rewired. So that a human being becomes childlike, living off instant gratification. Tantrums when you don't get the way you want. Distracted, anxious, all over the place, and unable to carry out a meaningful task.